Welcome to Read 511, Survey of Educational Research in Reading. This is the online version of this class. This is Unit 1, Week 1, Course Orientation, and this is Dr. Keisler. Welcome to Read 511. Let's take a quick tour of some of the requirements and assignments for this course. I'm not going to really spend any time talking about titanium, since for nearly all of you, you've taken several online classes at this point, and you've taken them with me as well, and so you know how my online classes run, so I'll point out any differences in this class as compared to some of the other classes you've had with me. So in terms of the topics for this class, we're going to spend our time this semester digging into educational research, so methods and some actual research itself. So we'll develop our knowledge and understanding of historical and current trends in research in reading, and develop skills needed to plan and conduct our own formal and informal research. So we'll do some practical research in terms of our lit review and developing questions and doing actual research for articles, and then we're going to spend our time also learning about actual research methods and then how those methods have changed over time in the field of reading. So of course, just like every other class, you're going to get a checklist each week. Those checklists will delineate what you need to do to complete the week's assignments. I put them in the order that I suggest you do the course in terms of reading, watching the screencasts, going back and doing the practice quizzes, participating in the class participation activities, and anything else. So that generally I put those in the order that I suggest you complete them in. So in terms of activities and assignments for this class, we are going to have 4 quizzes throughout the semester, and those are worth 20% of your grade. We have our class participation activities, so that's worth 25%. You have a literature review, which is one of the bigger projects for this semester in this course, and that's going to be worth 30% of your grade. You have a literature review poster session, 10%, and a historical article analysis project. So I'll get into each of those in a little bit more depth. So in terms of the quizzes, the website that goes with this textbook is actually a really good website. Each week you'll have a link to it, and they have study guides, they have flashcards that you can practice with, online flashcards. They have quizzes. I suggest that you perhaps look at the quiz before you read the chapter as kind of an anticipation guide, give you an idea of what the chapter is going to be about, what you may and may not know, and then that you perhaps go back after you read the chapter and listen to the screencast and see if you can answer those questions. But it's a really good website for the book. So that's a little bit different. We usually don't use the website that goes with the book, but in this case it goes well. So in terms of your quizzes then, the questions for the quizzes will come right off those online quizzes for each chapter. So every 4 chapters you will have a quiz, and it will be on the 4 chapters that you've just completed. And like I said, I'll take the questions right from the online quizzes provided by the publisher on the textbook website. So that's another good idea for you to be familiar with the questions that are on that that website. So there's 4 quizzes. The dates are listed on the course calendar. Class participation activities. So this class is a little bit different in terms of the class participation activities because there'll be a variety of them. And so usually I do like to switch it up a little, but the main difference is you won't necessarily have a forum each week. Just kind of due to the nature of the course and the topic itself, it doesn't really lend itself well to really rich discussion or meaningful discussions around research methods, particularly because lots of us come to this class with fairly limited background knowledge on the topic, and it is kind of hard to apply sometimes to our daily work, so to make those connections. So instead, we will have some forums and some small groups, but most of the discussions or the class participation activities will be around the projects that we're working on. So they'll be around your literature review, around developing the question for your research, require you to give feedback to others, and then they'll be around the historical analysis project. So that is kind of the second half of the semester, and so a lot of your class participation will come around the participation in those activities. So it'll be a little bit different than usual. I'd say that's probably the main difference between the way 511 is run and the way that I run the other classes, is that we don't necessarily have that weekly forum, although you do have some class participation every week. So you have a literature review. So this is a big project. We're going to do pieces of it throughout the semester. We're going to work on developing a research question. You'll kind of go from a list of 10, you'll narrow that down. You're going to be doing actual research in terms of finding articles and research that others have done related to your topic. So kind of honing some of your research or article research skills. And then you'll be put in thematic groups based on your topics. We do that in a lot of classes. And then writing an actual literature review. So if students have brought up in the past, if you're interested in doing a project at the end of the program rather than taking comps, although I recommend that you take comps, but if you're interested in doing a project and you kind of have an idea of what you think your question or topic is going to be for the project, that you could perhaps pick a similar question or topic for this class, and then you will have your literature review pretty much done by the end of this class that you could then apply to that project. So then, instead of having a semester exam, during finals week, we're going to do this literature review poster session. So essentially, this is your presentation of your research to the class, of your project to the class. It's not recorded or anything, but we'll kind of get into this as we get into the semester. But if you've never been to a research-driven conference, a poster session is really just where you take the results of your research and you essentially create a poster. And then they put all these posters and all the research in a big room, and the folks who conducted the research stand in front of the poster, and you go around, you look, you ask questions. So we'll kind of have an online or a virtual version of that. So it's a very common practice at some of the big conferences. And then you've got this historical analysis project. So this is kind of a neat project because what we do is we look at how educational research in reading has changed over time. So we will, kind of the way in 536 we looked at how instructional methods or instructional theories and educational learning theories have changed over time. This kind of goes along with that because this is the research then that was conducted over all of those time periods. So we have 6 historical eras, and then there are articles that are representative of the research that was conducted during that era. And you're going to choose one of those eras, you're going to have a group that you work with, and then you're going to have a project where you build out a wiki, and kind of the what you need to cover is all in that assignment. So as we get closer to it, you'll take a look and you'll see, but essentially you're going to talk about the types of questions that were asked during that era, the primary methods of research that were used, how people collected data, and we'll do a critique piece of how research was conducted then as compared to what we are more familiar with now. So it's kind of interesting to see how it's changed. It's a good project. So your textbooks, you need the Johnson and Christensen Educational Research. It's the blue and purple book. The 4th edition is what we're going to be using. Like I said, the website is a really good website for this text, so we'll be using the online resources that go with it. And then you should have the 6th edition of the APA manual. So that's going to help you with your citations and formatting and headers and footers and headlines and all that stuff. So you need to have that because that's going to be a big part of the class, is making sure that you have your APA done correctly. Of course, in every online class that Titanium, it tracks your online participation. So we suggest that you log into the class a minimum of 3 times a week. Everything is time stamped, of course, and you should, of course, expect to spend about, 6 to 10 hours a week on this course. And of course, not all of those are online. Some of those are reading and doing some of your writing. But you know by now that these classes are definitely time intensive. There's a survey, getting to know you survey. Obviously, I know most of you at this point, but just collecting some additional information, different ways that we can get in touch with you. That is in your week 1 thread. So if you go ahead and fill that out, it's a Google Doc. So remember that you need to log in through Titan Apps so that you are using your Fullerton email to access the Google Docs. Check your email 3 times a week. I send messages, all that stuff. Here's just something I don't think I've kind of really made a big deal out of this, but I would like to this semester. How you submit your file names for your assignments. So this is a good example. Smith.Ann or _Ann literature review 511. This way, everybody tends to name their assignment the same thing on their own computer, so that when I then open those files up, I have 27 files called literature review, so then I have to go back and rename them, and it's just an extra step that's kind of time consuming for me. So if you could get into the habit of using a file name like this that has your name in it, that would be really helpful. And of course, hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties this semester, but I really have yet to have a semester where Blackboard or Titanium did not crash in the first 2 weeks. So hopefully we won't this year, because they seem to have separated them out into much smaller chunks, so there's less information on each mini portal inside the platform. But who knows? So it's always a good idea then, of course, to be checking in early, not pushing yourself to the same time each night. We're going to run this class again from Tuesday to Mondays, so everything is due Monday night at midnight. I think that schedule really worked well for lots of folks. I know it really worked well for me in terms of grading and getting things done last semester. So we're going to keep that same thing. And then, of course, if you need help, you can find all this information in your syllabus. But technical problems, all kinds of tech help, make use of the resources that the university provides for us. And all right, so go ahead and get into the week 1 thread. Look at the assignments that are on the checklist. Make sure you get into chapter 1 and have a great week.